it or not, you would still consider that a homicide.
That's correct.
And same thing in this case. You don't have any clue what happened, do you? In terms of the actual moment that this man, the decedent, got shot, do you?
Other than the information that was gathered from circumstances, no.
Okay, and some of the things you use is investigator Julio Longuasco to help you out, right?
He was the investigator who went to the scene, yes.
All right, and he determined that rigor mortis was very light in this case, right?
I believe that's what his report says.
Okay, and very light meaning it was starting to set in, and right?
Yes.
But you could still move the fingers?
I believe that's what he... If you interpret that to be that, yes.
Well, you interpret it that way, don't you?
Based upon his description, it wasn't set, so it's not fixed rigor mortis.
Okay, it was just starting to.
Yes.
And you saw the photographs he took for you, didn't you? The scene photographs where he was able to manipulate the fingers?
To show the palms, yes.
All right, if somebody wanted to take a gun out of the decedent's hand before the police arrived, it wouldn't be that hard to do, would it, sir?
I don't believe it would.
You don't have to break the fingers. It's not frozen in there. It's light rigor mortis, right?
That's correct.
You didn't see any soda cans in the car, did you? The investigator took pictures, and you didn't see any, did you?
From the photographs I reviewed, I did not see them, no. I didn't see anything.
Okay, and you didn't see... Well, I don't remember what your words were. You said it could be a soda can. What else did you say? It could be a lighter?
Lighter, cell phone, I don't know.
Any lighters in the car?
From the limited photographs that I have, no, I did not.
Okay, and the cell phone, did you see any cell phones?
From the photographs, no, I did not. From the photographs I seen.
What? You're aware that the decedent had 2 keys in his pocket, right? Upon removal by your investigator and the crime scene personnel?
I'd have to refer to see if that was in the report.
You want to look? It's in his right front pocket.
Sure.
Thank you. May I approach the witness, Judge?
You may.
Let me show you this, maybe save a little bit of time. States number 27. I don't know if that would help you. 2 keys that were in Seaton's pocket.
Okay.
Does that help you a little bit?
In terms of, I'm sorry, what's your question?
That your investigator, Mr. Longuasco, found 2 keys in the right pocket of the decedent upon removing him from the vehicle.
Yes, he says we took photographs of all personal property and then proceeded to remove the clothing. So, he said, but he was referring to what he was wearing. He didn't specifically say what he removed from his pockets.
Well, those photographs, do you remember reviewing the photographs before you came out today from Investigator Longuasco, removing 2 keys from the pocket of the decedent?
I reviewed the photographs, but I didn't focus specifically on the property that was removed from the clothing.
Okay. Did anyone from law enforcement ever come to your office and show you a ring video or photographs, not this big probably, but of anything like this in this case?
It's upside down.
Pardon me.
No, I don't recall that.
Okay. And if there's been testimony that this is the decedent standing there, the guy near the white sweatshirt. No one showed you this previous to today, right?
No, I don't remember seeing that.
Okay. You don't know what's in his right front pocket, do you?
I have no idea what that is.
Does law enforcement sometimes confer with you and bring you evidence to say, hey, what do you think of this doc? Does it match this scene? Does it not match this? Do they ever do that?
They may, at times, depending on the case.
So they do, right? It's not unusual that they've done that.
No, it's not.
But no one did it in this case.
No. I recall.
The picture that I just showed you, defense exhibit number 5. Do you agree this is not consistent with having those 2 car keys in his pocket, the decedent?
Sustained.
I can see there's something in his pocket. I have no idea what is in his pocket from that photograph.
Nobody asked you to recreate it, right?
No, that's outside the scope of what I do.
Well, if you were told, hypothetically, that he may have had a firearm that night, pointing it out the window at 2 people, the decedent, would that be possible evidence for you to consider if his hand possibly had a firearm upon his death, before his death?
I don't know how that's relevant to my determination of cause and manner of death.
Don't you determine, your investigator goes out there and asks, hey, what happened? Please tell them what they found, right?
Correct.
But don't you determine the circumstances also, as well as the manner of death?
No, we record the circumstances as were given to them by the investigating officers, but we, in the determined cause and manner of death, whether he had a gun or not is not relevant.
Of how he died, right?
And for me determining cause and manner of death, it's not relevant.
You asked a question by the prosecutor a few minutes ago, and he asked you that it was consistent with many other objects. Wouldn't you want to know what object was really in his hand before you can answer that question, if anything?
As I said, it could be any object or no object at all.
Okay, but if you were told by the police that this man had a gun in his hand, I know you weren't, but if you were, would you consider that, or you wouldn't even pay attention to it?
As I said earlier, it's possible.
Okay. Well, what if they told you that?
Then it would be the gun. I would presume it's the gun, but again, that's not relevant to my determination of cause and manner of death.
You can't say it's a gun unless you see a gun in this man's hand, right?
That's the only time I would say there was a gun in his hand.
Okay. You disagree it's consistent, the decedent's right hand with holding a firearm. You disagree it's consistent with that.
No, as I said it was possible.
My question is it consistent with holding a firearm prior to his death? That's my question. Not possible, consistent.
It may be.
All right, well, did you ever use a firearm?
Maybe once or twice in my life.
Did you ever, in a case, ever put a firearm or a fake firearm in your hand and then pull it out and see if your fingers are in the exact same shape as the decedent's hand in this case?
No, I've never done that.
No one asked you to do that?
No one's ever asked me to do that.
You don't have that much experience other than what you read in the literature about firearms?
And the hundreds of homicide cases I've done over the years.
Sure, but I mean personal experience in firing guns and...
No, I don't have personal experience in firing guns.
Okay. Now, if somebody's in a fist fight and kicking and lasts for 10 minutes, is that possible that it would build up some lactic acid? Or I think your word was, what was it, RSD or something?
No, I was saying that you use up your energy stores, which is ATP.
Sorry, I apologize. ATP, is that similar to lactic acid?
Lactic acid is a byproduct of you using up your energy sources.
So if I'm in a fist fight, a severe fist fight, for 10, 15 minutes, right before I get shot, and I'm using my fist and my legs, would you consider that a buildup of the, I'm sorry, I don't remember the three letters you said. What was it?
ATP, using it,
Yep.
you could potentially use a decent amount of ATP to do that.
That would possibly bring on rigor mortis quicker than a person who was just sitting in a vehicle doing absolutely nothing.
Agreed, yes.
Okay. And the other extreme you used was a marathon runner. If somebody was running a marathon and they passed away right away, they can go in full rigor mortis right away.
But I mean, they can go rigor mortis quicker than you normally would. I wouldn't say instantaneously, but within minutes, probably you could have significant rigor.
Every case is different.
Yes.
Anyone ever give you any facts in this case law enforcement give you any facts about how long, or even if there was a fist fight from the decedent?
I don't specifically recall. I may refer to the investigator report.
Sure. You want to see Investigator Linguasco's report?
I have it here.
Okay.
He mentions a scuffle, but he doesn't say specifically who was in the scuffle.
Okay, so you weren't really given any real details about what may have occurred prior to the shooting, right?
Apparently, he wasn't given specifics as to, other than the driver of the vehicle and two other acquaintances were visiting a residence.
I want you to read it. I just want to know if you received any if you received any information that there was a fight and how severe it was prior to the decedent getting shot.
No, those details are not here.
Okay. So you don't know?
Other than there was a scuffle, no.
Okay. Scuffle can mean a lot of things, right?
It could. It doesn't indicate who was in the scuffle.
Or how long it lasted or how severe it was.
That information was not recorded in his report.
Okay. You went to medical school. That must have been very difficult, right?
It was medical school.
A lot of work.
Yes.
A lot of money.
Cost a lot, yes.
A lot of sacrifice.
Yes, some.
And what I'm getting at is you get paid to be here, right?
Yes.
You get paid by the state?
By the county, yes.
You make more than most people. I'm not going to ask you how much, but you make more than most people don't in average jobs, don't you?
I would say yes.
Okay. And do you do consulting on the side?
No, I don't.
When you talk to the prosecutors before this trial or any trial, do you charge them?
No.
Why'd you charge me $500 to talk to me for an hour?
That's the office policy. I personally did not charge you that. That's the office policy.
Well, before I was allowed to talk to you, I had to stroke you a check for $500, right? For 1 hour of your time.
As is the office policy.
Okay, so why would I have to pay, but they don't? What? How is that fair?
I don't make the rules.
Right. But you're cold and neutral. You're not working for either side, right?
Yes, that's correct.
You don't know why the defense lawyer, me, had to pay you to talk to you, right?
As per office policy, that's what it is.
Never asked anyone why? How is that fair? That one side has to pay and the other one gets it for free?
No, just sustained. All right, move on.
Intermediary target. Does that mean that this particular car was an intermediary target before the decedent got struck?
I would say yes.
And when a bullet goes through a car, it breaks up. Like in this case, right? It could break up.
Yes, it can.
In this case, every bullet pretty much broke up that you observed. They were all fragments.
That's correct. They're all
Little
fragments.
tiny pieces, right?
Yes,
And obviously they can do a lot of damage. It's no joke, right?
correct.
All right, so when the fragments are coming in, could you tell if they're bouncing around or if they deflect and they go different directions? Is there a way of you telling if they're hitting objects in the car and bouncing off of it?
I can't say specifically, no.
They can go anywhere, right?
Yes, I can only describe wound paths as they go through the decedent's body based upon my observations with the body in its own position.
Is there anything inconsistent with the man standing 5, 10, 15 feet near the car in a standing position, shooting into the car? Is there anything inconsistent with the wounds that you found on the decedent with that?
I can't tell range from those wounds because, A, there's an intermediary target,
Right?
so they wouldn't be inconsistent, no.
Because every shot or every piece of bullet fragment came from right to left, right?
Correct.
Obviously, the person who was shooting was standing on the right side.
That's correct.
How could somebody's buttocks get shot in a chair? Is it because their buttocks is exposed in that part?
I can't tell you where the person was or in space. I can tell you if they were squirming, turning to the left, to the right, while the bullets were coming in. I mean, my observations are as the body is laying flat on the table, so.
Sure. But I'm asking, like in this case, if somebody's sitting up in the anatomical sitting position when they're being shot at, have you seen that before or heard about that in cases? Sometimes people sit up, they don't duck.
Yeah, well, yes,
And if somebody sees a bullet or a gun coming at them, sometimes people duck, right?
they may, yes.
All right, so would this decedent's right buttocks, where the bullet entrance wound went in that we saw in the picture, be exposed?
If they were sitting straight up in the chair,
Yes, sir.
not particularly, but again, as I said, it went through intermediate targets. I don't know how it deflected. It could have gone through the door and then deflected into the buttock from the seat, or the body positioning of the person. I don't know. Even though he was seatbelted, he could have been turned slightly to the right.
Right.
I don't know.
And you don't know if he was seatbelted either, do you?
I believe in Investigator Longwatzko's report, he was seatbelted
Okay.
before he was removed from the car.
And this man had a gun pointed with his right hand, hypothetically. Would that possibly account for the wound on his shoulder and all the stippling on his hands? His hand was straight out while the shots were coming in?
Straight out through what? The open
Windshield.
door or the windshield?
Windshield, straight ahead. He's pointing the gun, hypothetically, straight forward.
You mean the side glass?
Nope, the windshield.
The windshield itself.
I mean, he's the front passenger. I'm asking if his hand's straight up. Wouldn't that be consistent with then getting shot in the shoulder area and the stippling that's on the hand? Because his hand's exposed.
I don't recall any defects in the front windshield.
I didn't ask if there was defects. I just said if his hand is straight out. Hypothetically, his hand is straight through the windshield. We know the shots came from right to left. We just talked about that.
Correct.
If his hand is up, would that likely cause more of those marks we saw that you said stippling on the outside of his palm?
Likely.
Okay. His hand was, if he was ducking on the ground, the stippling on the palm would probably not be there, right?
It may not. I mean, there were defects in the door and the actual side glass, so.
All right. Well, the left hand, assuming that was not holding a gun, had way less stippling